Chapter 7. Courage and Conviction by General Vijay Kumar Singh, Chief of Army Staff. Bharti and I boarded an Indian Airlines flight on 30th March 2010, getting into Delhi from where we proceeded to Noida. My course mate, Sandeep Gupta, who had commanded 5 Armoured Regiment and had been a sergeant in Casino Company during our cadet days, hosted a dinner where a few close friends joined us at his home. Pratima, his wife, was the perfect hostess, and it felt particularly good to be among people with whom I had shared so much. On the drive back to the Eastern Army Commander's hut in Delhi Cantonment, I watched the city with its perennial traffic whiz past the window. It was very different from the Delhi I had visited when I came from Pilani to Dhaula Kua looking for my father's regimental officer. Then, the city would be deserted shortly after sundown, with virtually no traffic on the road. I remembered the Air Force officer and his wife who had taken me in, saving me from having to spend a night at the bus stand. The next day, after my morning puja, I asked Colonel Girish, my Amma, and Major Rahul, the ADC, to explain the details of the taking over ceremony. I had been briefed earlier in Kolkata and had been told that the entire family should be present for the occasion. At 11:55 hours on 31st March, I, along with my family, walked into the office of the Chief of Army Staff. General Deepak Kapoor and his wife received us, and, after a few pleasantries, the outgoing chief asked me to move to the business end of the table. We shook hands, wished each other the best of luck, and then I saw the general off. The next day was easily one of my most special. I had been commissioned into Rajput and had joined the battalion in Delhi. Apart from the Red Fort, the other half of our duties revolved around Rashtrapati Bhavan. The change of guard at Vijay Chowk, the headbutting Ram from Tangadhar, the sound of boots marching down the slope past South Block, were all alive in my head as I approached the makeshift saluting bays. Lined up in front, resplendent in their rhododendron red saffers, were men from my battalion, lined up to present me with a guard of honor. Commands were shouted and the band began to play. The regimental colors, on which were emblazoned battle honors that went back to 100 years and more, were held aloft proudly as I went past. The back of my throat felt dry as my hand came up in a salute. From being a subaltern in the battalion a long time ago, I was now the 24th Chief of the Indian Army. To one side of the Guard of Honor, the media was waiting. Major General Sanjeev Madhok from the Brigade of the Guards was the ADGPI, and he had managed to do the impossible. He had the media standing respectfully behind a flimsy line during the ceremony. As I approached, there was bedlam, and before I realized it, I had television and still cameras in a tight circle around me. After independence, there had been 2 British chiefs. Field Marshal Kipper Karyappa had been the first of a distinguished line of Indians. Each one of my predecessors had brought something to the Indian Army in his own unique way. During highs and lows, triumphs and disasters, each man did what he could for the service. Sitting in the chief's office in South Block, I would rarely get a minute to myself. I sat and mulled over my priorities, something I had been going over in my head. Theoretical points were one thing, converting them into actionable points was where the challenge would lie. At the top of the list was implementing the transformation study, partly because of its all-encompassing nature. The second point on my agenda was to give the Eastern Theatre a lot more emphasis. After General A.S. Vaidya, in 1983, I was the next chief from Eastern Command, which in itself was an indicator of our Western orientation. Third, shortages needed to be tackled and solutions found to problems, even if they seemed insurmountable. Fourth, the working of Army headquarters needed to be improved. for it sometimes seemed to me that we had begun to mirror the mentality of the Babus. Fifth, we needed to take better care of our men, improve their ration, the quality of their uniforms, their living conditions, schooling for their children, speed up work on their key location plan, many of which were languishing, and so on.